a combination of biology, nature, and society nurture. Finding boys to interview for this book was a challenge. It's not as if they aren't any depressed boys out there, but they seem more reluctant to talk about it. In many cases, they don't even recognize depression when they feel it. Girls, on the other hand, were more than willing to speak about their experiences and to share their stories. They had great insights into the time frame of their depression, how it made them feel, how it affected their relationships with other people, and how they are dealing with it. So, what makes boys and girls so different when it comes to dealing with their own mental health? Guys can cry too, even though they don't like to, but they're more afraid to show their emotions in case people think they're weak. Sooner or later, though, they will show their emotions in public, not just anger. Guys don't really talk to their friends. It's really hard for them to find someone they can trust. Victor, 18. The reported rates of depression for boys and girls are interesting. Research shows that in childhood, depression is slightly more common in boys than in girls. In adolescency, the rate of depression much more higher in girls. In adolescency, the rate of depression are much higher in girls. It's important to remember, though, that rates of depression are based on what is reported to researchers. It is hard to report something that hasn't been identified. Some people believe that the reported rates of adolescent behavior are inaccurate because so many cases are not identified. They believe that how they socialize our children mask what is really going on. They suggest that in young children, girls are overlooked in the statistics because they are socialized to be quiet and unassuring and assuming. Boys are expected to be outgoing and get into trouble, and when they do, they get the help and attention they need and show up more in the rates of depression. Meanwhile, the girls are often remain quietly ignored. In adolescency, this all changes as girls become more outspoken and in tune with their emotions, or at least willing to talk about them. Boys tend to become more withdrawn at this age and less communicative. Their depression now going unnoticed and even unidentified within themselves, and so they disappear from the rates of depression. Research has shown that there are two important biological differences between boys and girls that can affect their behavior. Firstly, girls are more verbal than boys. Girls talk earlier and more fluently than boys. Boys eventually catch up, but girls get a head start in this department. Secondly, boys tend to be more physically active than girls. This means that they are often more visible than girls as they express themselves through physical action. For adolescent boys, their biological tendency to express themselves physically, leave the bird alone, instead of verbally may actually hide their depression. This aggressive behavior makes sense in relation to our traditional expressions of masculinity, whereas the traditional view of the depressed person is that he is sad and lethargic. This means that when a boy acts out aggressively, it is often blown off, as boys will be boys, expected and even socially accepted behavior. It is often not until a boy has gotten into a serious trouble with the law or having major difficulties at home or in school that depression is even considered. This is a common stereotype. Guys are supposed to be rough and tough, and girls are supposed to be these soft little weaklings who cry and stuff like that. That's the main reason it keeps going on. It's because of the stereotype. As you're growing up, you're supposed to be a certain way. When you're raised a certain way, girls are more Girls are more willing to talk about their problems and guys are not. Guys don't usually talk about their problems. They're always kept inside. Girls most of the time can talk to their mothers or things like that. Guys can't usually talk to their fathers. Clifford, 18.